The next one I want to talk about is Babylon. The fact that I actually went, I think this movie is bad. Okay, it's bad. It's very pretty. There's a lot going on. It's interesting. You'll watch it, but it is so long, and not even like long in the way that like Wakanda Forever and like Avatar were long. Like those movies were long, but I could sit through them. I could watch them, and I was interested. I didn't care that they were 3 hours. I was good, but
Hmm.
Babylon is long in the way where it's like, oh, it's been an hour, and y'all doing this, huh? Like, also, by the way, we need to stop talking about Brad Pitt. That man punched his wife in the face. I, please just look at Brad Pitt and allegations. Y'all need to stop fawning over this white man. The fact that he and Johnny Depp have the same PR team is what really pisses me off. But even though I don't like Brad Pitt, he is a very good actor. He is. It's just that like so many people in this movie are good actors, but it's not a great script, and it does not matter how hard you give your. It doesn't matter how hard you try. It doesn't make up for the fact that the words you're saying are not like okay. Let me go into like my criticisms of Babylon because I wrote them down because I don't want to be babbling forever. Okay, Babylon is directed by Damien Chazelle. He also directed Whiplash, La La Land, and First Man, just to name a few. And this movie is basically a look at Hollywood in the 20s and 30s from the transition of black and white to the talkies. And three people are characters in this movie. There is Nelly, who is played by Manny Torres, who is a Mexican immigrant who goes from being a fixer to an executive. There's Jack Conrad, who's played by Brad Pitt, who is the archetype of the movie. You know, he's rich, he directs, he does it all. I think it's a studio exec, actually. I don't really remember. But, oh, Manny is the Mexican immigrant, and Nelly is Margot Robbie. And Nelly loves acting. She loves acting. And yeah, those are the three characters of the movie. This movie is super self indulgent. Okay, here's the thing, right? This movie is a little bit like La La Land, where La La Land was a story about a couple who wanted to make it big in Hollywood, and one of them didn't, and then one of them did, and their two lives kind of changed with that path. That's kind of a spoiler. That's my bad. It's a very sweet love story. I see why people liked it. I kind of didn't like the movie, but that's besides the point. And then Babylon is a movie about Hollywood in the times of excess and where people were wild and crazy and having fun, but it also shows like the dark side of Hollywood. And the movie does this thing where it tries to show you the excess and the glory and the fame and the decadence and all these other things that come with being famous and rich in Hollywood, but also it shows like the dark side and the terrible things and how like you can go from being beloved and a starlet to being tossed inside the road. You could be a great studio exec, but if you don't get with the times, you're tossed away. And you could be this new up and coming person and immigrant in this town, and then you become an executive, but you're not any better of a person than you were the day before. And overall, this film is just trying to like is it like are you saying that the hedonism of Hollywood is bad? Are you saying that like what are you trying to say to this movie, man? Like what is it? Like this is an interesting web of characters, but overall it's just not like it's an interesting movie. It is. It's a very good movie. Very beautiful. Beautiful gowns, beautiful gowns, beautiful gowns. I don't know what he's trying to say with the movie. It just felt like a lot of nothing.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Like, I don't really know what his stance was. It definitely is sort of like I couldn't figure out if it was like a love letter. I feel like it was a love letter to films, a love letter to cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm like, is it a love letter to? Then I was like, okay, is it also a love letter to like the decadence and ridiculous? Is this parodying the decadence and ridiculous of Hollywood? I really love old Hollywood, like especially old Hollywood true crime. So like, I went into this film like looking forward to it, and I did love that aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
especially because there's a at the beginning of the film they're at that huge party, and there's that fat guy who's in the room with that girl who's he's killed or drugged or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the actual reference to Fatty Arbuckle, who was like
Mm-hmm.
this big star, who killed this young actress. And was sentenced to jail for it. It's like little references like that. I'm like, oh, that's a reference to that true crime story and stuff like that. Like things like that, I appreciated. But yeah, you don't really know. It's like, what is his stance on this? Again, is he parroting the decadence of that age of Hollywood? Um, is it a love letter to it? Like, and there were also things like like some of the storylines, like the black musician. I'm forgetting his name.
Mm-hmm.
His storyline was so far removed from all the other things that were going on. Like
Yeah.
they really didn't feature him enough. To the point where I was like, okay, you really could have cut his story out because
Yeah.
it's like every time we see him, it's like okay, it's like the beginning of his career. Then we get back to him, and it's like it's the middle of his career, and then we get back to him, it's the end. But we're not seeing that stuff in the middle. Whereas with the other characters, we are seeing that stuff in the middle. We see how
They're not interacting
Manny,
with each other really.
and with Manny, like we see how Manny starts out
Mm-hmm.
as what like an assistant, and then goes to becoming a producer. And we see his fall from grace with the female with what was her name, Nellie. We see her like she starts out as an aspiring actress. We see her reach her heights, then we see her fall from grace. With Johnny, no, with Brad Pitt's character, when we meet him, he's already a star, but I guess we kind of see just kind of the up and down of his career. Like I feel like with everybody else, we got a full story. So with the musician, I was like, okay, what was really the point? So I feel like that could have trimmed some of them, but like there was a lot. I can say it that way. There was a lot about this film that could have been trimmed out because it ultimately didn't really add anything and just kind of muddled the story.
Yeah. You're right. It
It
does.
was very, like you said, very beautiful. Like that opening scene, that party was so ridiculous, but it was so
Yeah.
vibrant and it was so vibrant. I loved that, but you see how horribly it did though. Like it flopped at the box office, and and so much money went into that film, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see it. You can see where the set pieces and the designs and all this stuff. You can see where the money went. It's like
Mm-hmm.
sad that y'all won't even earn half of that back. Like yikes.
Yikes, indeed. Yeah. I mean, overall, I I wish I hadn't seen that movie. I kind of wish I hadn't seen it at the end of it all, you know? I do agree with your take on it and your criticism to it. Um, and also, Margot Robbie, she's amazing in everything she does.
Yes.
So it's kind of like that helped it, but it didn't help it that much. Sorry,
It
babe.
couldn't save it.
It
It couldn't
couldn't
save
save
it.
it.
You know what's so funny? And you remember there was this one part where Samara Weaving comes in as like a rival actress to Nelly. It's so
Mm-hmm.
funny because my first thought, people are always talking about how much those two look alike.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I saw Samara Weaving show up, I was like, I was like, don't put these ladies near each other because I can't tell the difference between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
But so I feel like the filmmakers intentionally like made um, Samara Weaving's hair dark in this one, and like she had a whole different feel. She was only in the film for a small part, but I thought that was so
Mm-hmm.
funny. I was like, they know they had to do that because those two look so much alike.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate like there's so little things like that. Like I appreciate those little cameos. I feel like again because people say they look so much like I feel like that was like a little wink to the audience. Like we know this is why we make them look so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the actor who played Manny, I feel like that he's a talented actor.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to what you said, Margot Robbie's her talent couldn't really save this. Even the guy who plays Manny, even Brad Pitt, like their charisma and their talent, it's like yeah, it was great, but this film was still all over the place.